don't know what my only crime was being happy. That's all I did.
I hate you.
Holy shit, Danny.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Impact 1000 here at the Market Down podcast, here in the Gym Pack Zone. I am James Gisanti, where we cover all things Impact. I am still reeling from last night being at Arthur Ashe for AEW Grand Slam. I am exhausted. I am tired. I've lost some facial hair since the last time I saw you. That's okay, though. As long as you still love me, I'll love myself. That's healthy, right? Anyway, we had a great follow-up to Impact 1000 from last week, as we had Impact 1000 this week. We had night 2, so I guess we're technically Impact 1001, but hey, we're here. Let's keep the celebration going. And what a celebration it was, as we not only celebrated the 1000th episode of Impact, we celebrated the 50th Ultimate X match that Impact Wrestling has ever had. Great match, in my opinion. Great way to start the show. And I loved the talent that they had in it. We had great former X Division champions. We've had great up-and-coming talent that we're all hoping to see more of in the division. We had Mike Bailey, Zachary Wentz, Ace Austin, Rich Swann, Alan Angels, and Samurai Del Sol. My bad, guys. It's spelled differently. These 6 men really put on a high-flying masterpiece. They put on a clinic. They made sure we had flips, we had dives, we had falls, there was spray paint, there was nut shots, there was I don't want to say romance, who knows, we don't know what happens in that locker room, but this match had a little bit of everything, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a great spot on the corner, one of the corner posts for the Ultimate X match, which, if you guys aren't familiar, 4 pillars in the corners of the ring, high up, as high as a steel cage goes, and in between the 4 are 2 wires that cross, forming an X. And hanging in the intersection of that X is a little red X that when you grab it, you pull it down, and you land with it, you're guaranteed an X Division title shot. So that's what these 6 men were vying for. That's what these 6 men were battling it out for. And they certainly did. There was one spot where one of the 4 corners, all 6 men were fighting on the corner, 3 on the ground, 3 on the corner, and then we get a triple moonsault to the outside. Great spot, very athletic, very fun, very death-defying, and more of that Impact. You know, safely, of course. We had some nice interactions between guys like Speedball and Alan Angels. We had nice interactions between Ace Austin and Zachary Wentz, who have been feuding in the tag division with their respective partners, Trey Miguel and Chris Bay. Rich Swann and Samurai Del Sol, former WWE guys. This was a lot of fun, and lots of interesting interactions, lots of interesting history being used. And not to bury the lead, I'm going to tell you now, Alan Angels won, and it was great. I've been a big proponent of Alan Angels since he debuted in Impact. I've loved him since his time in the Dark Order in AEW, and I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's getting this time to rise, to shine, and to let everybody see how good he is outside of a group. It was a little bit of a slow start for him in Impact, as he was part of the design with Cody Deaner and Big Khan. And while I'm glad that he was able to get his feet wet in that group, we got to see a different side of him in that group. I have been waiting to see if he could stand on his own, and I think this is going to be a big indicator if he can. The finish saw multiple men hanging on to the lines. Speedball, Mike Bailey, holding on for the longest amount of time. It was actually almost comical being there live, seeing how long he was on the line. There were points where it was a little frustrating, but he certainly made up for it with the show that he put on for all of us. And it came down to him and Alan Angels. Angels hitting and kicking and fighting, eventually hitting him with a shot to the, as Speedball called it later, the boys, and resulting in him being the last man on the ropes as the others are dashing to get him, and he's able to unhook the X. It crashed down to the mat, but he's able to be the quickest one to it, grab it, and exit the ring. I love that spot. I'm very excited to see Angels go for the X Division Championship, which is now held by 10-time champion Chris Sabin. Not wanting to wait, not wanting to hold on to that X for a long time. In a later segment, Angels said that he's going to be challenging Sabin for the championship next week. I would love to see X Division champion Alan Angels. I don't know that we're going to get that 2 weeks after Chris Sabin's title win, but crazy things happen. Crazy things happen in the Impact Zone. So we shall see how that goes. But just to really hammer and how fun some of these spots were, Bailey did his normal speed kick combination, hanging from the ropes, kicking down one of his opponents. We had Zachary Wentz getting really creative with the spray can, the green spray paint, spraying a bunch of his opponents off of the cables. We had some nice rebound action from Samurai and Rich Swann, making sure they really hit some of their classic content, some vintage material from these superstars. So just good stuff overall. And if you're going to check out anything from this show, go check out Ultimate X. Moving on, we had a nice throwback to the early days of Impact, the early days of TNA, where we had a 10-minute time limit match between Dirty Dango and Jake Something. There'd be a judge who, back in the old days, there would be a judge who would announce the winner if it went to a draw after the 10 minutes. In this case, it was Chase Stevens, who was a member of TNA from the very, very early days. It was nice to see him in the Fox box. And I got to say, this match, a little gimmicky, but if anyone was going to make it work, it was Jake Something. Jake is an explosive talent. He's very good in these bursts, and they made the most of these 10 minutes. It was a really fun bit. It was a nice change of pace, considering the rest of the matches had a good amount of time, but this didn't feel like it got shortchanged. Bravo definitely tried to get involved as he was in Dango's corner, but Jake was able to quickly take care of him. And then at the end, we saw Something hit into the void for the 1, 2, 3. And he just continues to build momentum. There's very clearly some support for Jake Something, going for the IWGP Championship at the last Impact pay-per-view, racking up these wins. Otherwise, I'm excited to see what they have in store for him. He definitely feels like someone they're prepping for the upper card, for the main event. But we'll see how that pans out for everybody. Backstage, we had Steve Maclin complaining about last week's Feast or Fired match, how Rhino came out and cost him his last briefcase, or his shot at a briefcase. As he's complaining and as he's saying he's going to deal with Rhino and take Rhino out, Rhino rushes him, hits a gore out of nowhere in the backstage, and has Maclin floored. This brings out Santino, who yells at Rhino, who says he went too far. Rhino says he doesn't give a bleep. And if Macklin's trying to end his career, he'll see what happens next. Look, these two have chemistry. These two have gone at it several times in the past, and it's always hard hitting. We've talked about what Rhino is and isn't capable of at this point in his career with Impact. But as long as he's able to do stuff like this and help put talent over, keep on goring, buddy. I want to see more, Rhino. I want to see more. We then had what was a very transitional match, as Kenny King, accompanied by Sheldon Jean, was set to go on with Eric Young in a one-on-one match. That match, Eric Young accompanied by Scott D'Amore, that match quickly deteriorated and turned into a tag match as Sheldon Jean got involved in Kenny King's on Kenny King's behalf, and as the onslaught is going on, as the battling is going on, Deputy DOA, Shark Boy himself, give me a hell yeah. Give me a shell yeah. He says he's not going to let that match end like that, despite the DQ, and he turned it into a tag match. Eric Young and Scott D'Amore versus Kenny King and Sheldon Jean. The match barely gets started before Big Con and Diener come out to attack Eric Young because they just can't let stuff go, apparently. It's kind of annoying. As the beatdown continues, Shark Boy reiterates this is not how this night is going to go. So instead of Team Canada versus the world, he's bringing some of the world to Team Canada as Impact Legends, TNA Originals, America's Most Wanted, come out and take a stand siding with their old rivals, Team Canada. This was really fun. If you're an old school TNA fan, if you're an old school Impact fan, this was a sight to see. James Storm is always welcome in the Impact Zone, and seeing Cowboy Chris Harris, you don't see it that often. He comes for these special appearances now, and it's always something special when we get to get him. So this one-on-one match turned into a tag match, turned into an 8-man tag. And the end saw the combined force of Team Canada and America's Most Wanted, North America just going hard tonight, getting the win as Eric Young hits Sheldon Jean with a pile driver. This was a little chaotic. This was a little crazy, but it was nice to see some legends come out. It was nice to see some old rivals working together as friends, and great use of the talent all around. So very excited. Always exciting to see these guys. Moving on, we had our backstage segment where we finally got to see the results of the Feast or Fired match, where we had all 4 briefcase winners: Crazy Steve, Moose, Chris Bay, and Yuya Uemura. Each open up their briefcases. Crazy Steve was the first. All 3 said. Well, 3 of the 4 said they wanted a tag team title shot. Moose wanted the tag title shot. Bay wanted the title shot, and Yuya wanted the tag title shot. Crazy Steve says he just wanted to see body parts and organs and different stuff. It's crazy. It's Steve. Steve opens up the first briefcase, and he gets a digital media title shot. I'm not going to lie. This threw me off. I thought Steve was going to be the guy to get fired. I'm glad. I never want to see anybody get fired, but that's what I was expecting. So very interesting to see Crazy Steve going for the Digital Media Championship, currently held by Tommy Dreamer. And as he was walking off, he just kept repeating, "The world is full of dreamers." Poor Tommy. Moose, opening up case number 2, gets a World Championship title shot. He goes to his partner, Brian Myers, who's next to him. He really did want that tag title shot, but he's smiling despite that regardless. So good for Moose. He's probably going to get the winner of Alex Shelley and the Walking Weapon. So very exciting to see either of those matches happen. Moving on to case 3. You're either going to get a tag title shot or you're going to get fired. Chris Bay opens the briefcase and tag title shot. While he's very happy and he celebrates it with his partner, Ace Austin, you could see the sadness and the shock on Joe Hendry, who's there with his partner, Yuya, who unfortunately opened up the case to reveal that he is fired. In the grand scheme of things, I shouldn't be that surprised. Yuya has been here basically on excursion this entire time. He's going to go back to Japan. It's just I thought he was going to be here a little bit longer. I thought that there was more that he could do with Joe Hendry, with this tag team Joya. But if anybody has to leave, I understand it being Yuya. I understand it being a guy who's not really with the company on a full-time basis. But it's always sad to see such an exciting young talent have to leave the company. So hopefully Yuya will come back in the future. I know he's going to be on next week's episode for a farewell. But he had a great run with the company, in my opinion. I definitely saw him develop a good amount, and I hope to see him in the future, wherever that may be, hopefully someday in Impact. Moving on, we had another singles match dealing with the fallout from last week after a beatdown by the Rascals on Josh Alexander, in which world champion Alex Shelley left him hanging. Quite frankly, disappointing. I'm not mad. I was disappointed, Shelley. Alexander is getting his revenge on Trey Miguel tonight. There is just something about Alexander that reeks of star. He feels like a threat. I know the walking weapon is a fun nickname, but he legitimately feels like a walking weapon. He can stop you with a submission. He can stop you with a drop. He's not afraid to strike, and he's not afraid to dive. The guy can get you in any way, and it's quite frankly very refreshing. He's an excellent, excellent talent, and Impact has certainly made him a bona fide star. And that's not anything on Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel has definitely grown in his time. He had a great X Division run. Turning heel definitely did a lot to elevate him and his character work. And he's always been just aces in the ring. So this was an exciting, exciting matchup. Lots of back and forth. Finally ending with Wentz trying to get involved in the match, but being stopped by Alex Shelley. Josh is able to finish it off with a C4 spike for the 1-2-3. And then after the match, he gets on the mic and he sarcastically thanks Shelley for being in his corner when he wasn't last week. Shelley tells him not to get his signals mixed match. Tallywhack, give a dog a bone. I'm tongue-tied, guys. He says he wasn't here to help him. He was here because he wanted to get back at the Rascals. Alexander lays down the challenge. He wants that title shot at Bound for Glory, and he gets it. That will be our main event for Bound of Glory. Josh Alexander versus world champion Alex Shelley for the Impact World Championship. Very exciting stuff. It's going to be a good match. The only time they've gone for the title before, Alexander won. Will history repeat itself? We shall see. We then go to a backstage segment where just before we find out that at Bound for Glory, Will Ospreay's opponent is going to be Speedball Mike Bailey. We were supposed to get at Multiverse United. We are now getting at Bound for Glory. This is going to be an exciting, exciting matchup, guys. I've been saying it every time we're on the show. I think Speedball in the world. He is just to break out into the main event, and a big win against Will Ospreay, or at the very least a great showing against Will Ospreay, is definitely going to bring a lot of eyes to him. Very much looking forward to this match. But backstage we go to Bailey, who's sitting down recovering from his Ultimate X match, and he's checked on by Jonathan, his frenemy of sorts. They poke fun at each other for not winning their respective matches. The Feast are fired for last week for Gresham, the Ultimate X this week for Bailey. Except Gresham reminds him he has been a world champion before. So he's not sweating it because he knows what it takes to get back to the top of the mountain. After some back and forth, Bailey convinces him, let's have one more match for fun. Look, these matches have been great. They had a great series a couple of months ago. I want some space from it personally, unless one of them is out and out going to turn on the other, which I feel like they could have done a while ago. I don't know why we're here. I know Gresham was hurt for a little bit, but still, I would rather just see both men doing their own thing. But hey, we're guaranteed a good match out of it, and that match will be next week on Impact. We then switch to another backstage segment as John Schuyler is arguing with the Rascals about their deal, saying that they're only the tag champs right now because of the good hands. They're interrupted by the ABC, who come out with their briefcase saying that they've got that tag title shot. Schuyler is upset and he says, no, there's no guarantees here except for what they say, except they, being the Rascals, are gone. They leave him high and dry, and Schuyler is stunned that he was left behind. It's almost like heels are heels. That's crazy. We get a brief rundown for what's to come next week, including a Memphis Street fight with Dreamer and Heath against Sheldon Jean and Kenny King, Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham, Yuya's goodbye ceremony, and the X Division Championship match between Angels and Sabin. Finally, we're here for the main event as we get our knockouts, 10 knockout tag team match. As we have Team Beautiful People, Angelina Love, Deonna Purrazzo, Tasha Steelz, Giselle Shaw, and Savannah Evans against Team Over, as they call themselves, Trinity, Gail Kim, Jordan Grace, Mickie James, and Awesome Kong. There were some amazing callbacks to the past. There was excellent use of the talent of today. it was fun. It was interesting seeing some of these talent interacting with one another. You have Velvet Sky on outside supporting the beautiful people, and she's interacting with Jay Vidal as they're both being catty and cheating and sassy. It was fun. You have Mickey James and Trinity hitting dual Fez presses, very similar styles. It was a lot of fun. Gail Kim showed that she could still go. Gail Kim being a 7-time Knockouts champion, going against the current top dog of Impact's Knockout division, at least in my opinion, Deonna Purrazzo, the 3-time Knockouts champion. Just some great interactions, some great back and forth, and culminating in Awesome Kong leveling a terrified Giselle Shaw. It was a fun bit. Giselle sold Awesome Kong perfectly. The fear on her face was palpable. The selling for her moves. Kong might not be able to go at the pace she once did, but she could still lay it in. She had some great spinning back fists. She had an excellent choke slam, and finishing it off with what I believe, if I'm not, it is the implant buster onto Giselle Shaw. Getting the 1-2-3, team over, celebrates in the ring after Angelina Love hits Jay Vidal with the Botox injection super kick, and she and Velvet Sky put a paper bag on his head. Mickey James, all the knockout baby faces have their arms raised as Mickey James has her eyes on Trinity and the Knockouts title. Guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. These celebratory JL, sorry I missed you, pal. Why did I think of Freddie Mercury as soon as I saw you? I can't sing, but I can rock a stash from time to time. And yes, I am into TNA. But yeah, guys, I've said it before and I'll say it again. These anniversary shows are really hard to have. You know, you want to honor the past, you want to celebrate the present, and you want to welcome the future in a sense. And it's a tough juggling act. It's a tough balancing act. But I truly think between these 2 weeks, between last week and this week, Impact did a great job of doing all three. We got to see some very old familiar faces. We got to see the current talent of today being pushed in new directions thanks to the Feast or Fired briefcases. And I'm excited to see what next week and Bound for Glory will hold. So, guys, tell me what you thought of the show. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being there. I enjoyed reliving it on TV, and I enjoyed covering it with you guys. So please, if you enjoyed the show, leave a comment, leave a like. Tell me what you thought about it. I love talking Impact with people. So please do. But as always, I am James Gisanti. This is the Jimpact Zone, and this is Mark It Down Podcast. So please go check out our socials. We have everything. We're blowing up everywhere. I don't want to brag, but a certain John Cena is following us now. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Have a great night. And don't forget, watch Impact and mark it down.